Hey guys, it's Jim here, and today I'm going to give you my unbiased review of this ESP LTD EC-256. Like always, I'm just going to go right into the playthrough. I made a few short clips to give you guys an idea of how it sounds going through my HX Stomp, and then I'll give my thoughts on the guitar and my impressions afterwards. So what do I think this guitar does well? I think it does classic rock really well. I think it does that kind of edge of breakup sound pretty convincingly, considering the price point. It does a really good job. As far as the feel of the guitar goes, the neck is definitely a lot thinner than even a 60 slim taper on a Gibson. So to me, I don't really care for that on a Les Paul style guitar. I like a little bit of a rounder neck on it, a little bit thicker than this, but that's just my personal preference. You might get along just fine with it. And I would think somebody that might be transitioning from either like a Fender style guitar or like a Jackson or something like that, who wants to get into a Les Paul but not do the full transition, a guitar like this might be a really good segue for that. But it's not all happy days when it comes to the tone, and this is an optional thing that some people will use, some may not. I personally would never use this. Is the coil split on this? I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's good enough to justify really using often. That's just my personal opinion. Now, on all guitars in this price range, I recommend replacing the nut when you go in to get it set up, or when you're doing the setup yourself, with a nice bone nut, especially on a Les Paul style guitar that doesn't have straight through stringings. It's definitely going to make a big difference, especially on the G string. And on this guitar, it stayed in tune really well, except when I started to do aggressive bending on the G string. It would just lose grip and go out from there. And it was a pretty drastic drop. It wasn't really subtle. But if you're used to playing Les Pauls, this is kind of something that you're used to with the territory. But like I said, mitigating this problem, not that big of a deal. You just replace the nut. I would skip the tuners and go right for that. Going back to the body, and more specifically the neck, it is thin, but it does have this stop on it to add strength to it. And it also acts as kind of like a stop with your hand. So if you're playing all the way up here and you scroll back all the way down to here to play some cowboy chords or something like that, your hand's gonna kind of be stopped by the guitar, which, I don't know, it's not something that I ever thought I would need or would ever seek out, but it's nice that it's there. For a guitar in this price range, the binding is pretty good. There are some minor imperfections, but that's something that's going to be expected. And even with the ones that were made in Korea, I ran into those same problems. And just in general, when you're shopping around this mark with import guitars, you really just can't expect perfection in all the details like that. Another pro I would give to this guitar is how easy it is to get up here. And that's because this actually works. Other brands, including Gibson, have tried to add in that access to the higher frets and haven't done so well when doing that. ESP, they have figured it out, and this guitar is easy to play no matter where you are on the neck. One thing I'm very happy to report, this is another ESP LTD that I've had that had no electrical problems. And when I say that, there's not a scratchy kind of sound that's going to happen when you switch the pickup selectors, like which does happen with cheaper brands and even with Fender Mexico. Like we have a Fender Mustang bass, and that thing electrically is a nightmare from the factory, and that was more expensive than this. That was like $650 when we bought it. So it just goes to show that it doesn't matter what the brand is per se. Sometimes certain factories, they don't always take the utmost of care with the little details like that. And I'd like to say, you know, LTD does a really good job, especially in my experiences, being consistent with not having faulty things like that happen. They're not the end of the world, and they're easy to fix if they do happen, but it's nice just to not have to deal with a headache. The cons of the guitar, I would say the fact that it ships with nothing out of the box, not even a cheap gig bag, that kind of stinks, but I mean, it is what it is at this point. I mean, you could buy a $2,200 PRS and you're only going to get a gig bag and not a hard case. So all these companies, they're all trying to cut costs as much as possible. And guitars like this that are much more mass produced, I can kind of understand that. However, that being said, since they are so mass produced and the quality is this good, the odds of you getting a dud seem to be fairly low. So that's a big positive in this guitar's favor. It's a nice confidence boost, not questioning what kind of quality you're going to get. And when you can do that on a guitar that's under $500, I'd say the brand's doing something right. Now, in regards to whether or not this guitar is going to be worth the money, I would say if you are a beginner to / intermediate guitar player and you are looking for something that you're not going to have to mess with too much, that's not going to give you tons of headaches, then this is a really good guitar to buy new. I'd also say this guitar is a really good option if you play other guitars like a Fender or some sort of Jackson or a PRS even, like a Custom 24, and you wanted to get into a Les Paul style guitar without breaking the bank. This will definitely get you there tonally. Feel-wise, it's definitely going to be a thinner neck than what you're probably going to get on a regular Les Paul, but you're going to get right there as far as the tone goes and just the feel and the aesthetic of it, and that's a pretty good value for $450 new. But that's pretty much it. I definitely would recommend this guitar. It's really good value for money, and again, it's a nice introductory point into the body style design of a Les Paul. So if you like this video and like my content, want to support, all you have to do, just please hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, leave me a comment, let me know if there's a guitar you'd like me to check out in the future. I'm open towards anything like that. So until then, we got more content every single day. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.